This one's 60,000 Egyptian pounds. English page. Wondering how much it costs to live in Egypt? We're going to show you apartments, to bills, to groceries, to healthcare, to even homeschooling your children. Come with us to find out. So this apartment, this one that you see right here, is 60,000 EGP. That's approximately £1,000, $1,300. Yes, 60,000 EGP. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Okay, so we just saw an apartment. It came with furniture and also a pretty hefty price tag. Now we're here at a second location in Rehab, where we're going to show you an apartment without furniture to give you a comparison as to what you can expect. So even though for me these buildings look newer, this has like a Mediterranean style. If you look at the windows, if you look at the arch design on the buildings, especially one of the best things about Rehab, I think, is obviously it's a compound in the new side, but you can see here the greenery. Communities are based around really livable spaces. So this particular apartment is a 2-bedroom apartment. It's got 1 living room, 1 toilet, 1 kitchen. This is on the 5th floor of this building on the old side of Rehab, which is a compound in New Cairo, about 20-25 minutes away from the old side. It's incredibly safe. It also comes with a pretty nice view, but if you have children, make sure they are safely locked up inside. On top of that, this one is quite modernly done. As I said, this is a particular 2-bedroom apartment. It's on the smaller side of apartments, but it is nicely done. One thing that you'll notice is you'll see a lot of this. So if you're thinking of moving to Egypt or to a country in the Middle East or of a hotter climate, you want to know that you have to install your own air conditioning if you see something like this. That's something to note if you're getting your own apartment. What you will then see as well is apartments that are on the higher floors, they tend to be cheaper than apartments on the lower floors. It might be a bit different to the likes of what we expect in America or in the likes of the UK, where if you are on a higher floor, you are generally paying more because you got a view. But here's a bit different, and that's because the higher floors retain a lot more heat. And when it comes to summer, around 40 degrees, you're going to be noticing the difference. But as we continue through, you'll see this particular apartment is about 120 square meters. The toilet is to my left. It needs some work doing to it, as well as the kitchen space not being particularly big. But for about 120 square meters at the cost of 18,000 Guinea, which is about 300 or so pounds, about $450, I think it's quite well spent, especially comparing it to the one that we just saw before. So yeah, that's what you can expect for apartments. Okay, so before you can even get an apartment, of course, you need a visa. Where do you get one from? How much does it cost? And how long does it last? The first thing is you can get a visa to Egypt online. This allows you to stay here for typically 28 days. And once you've done this, then you are in a position to know, is Egypt the place for me? Okay, so now you've decided Egypt is, you can get a visa from Abyssinia, which is one of the locations for visas, or a particular location called Medinati. This generally allows you to stay here for another 6 months. A lot of people do come here first and then get an extended visa for a year through their children's education, whether it comes to school or private education that they are deploying their children into. Okay, do bear in mind that this particular visa status, the 6 months or the visa through your children, doesn't allow you to work. However, if you do buy a property here in Egypt, you do get citizenship for a few years. So check the government's official website for more details on that. Right, moving on to more important things like, of course, the internet for your phone and Wi-Fi. You buy your Wi-Fi from a shop called We or Etisalat or Vodafone, and you're paying around $20 a month, which is typical of Wi-Fi costs. You get enough to watch Netflix, browse the internet, maybe watch some football. It's enough to do the important things that you need. When it comes to your mobile device, you're paying around £7 to £8, around $10 to $15, dependent on the package that you're getting. Again, that's enough to do the essentials. Things like electricity, it's around £60, $80 a month, especially if you live on the new side. And this is only because of inflation in the last few months. Before that, it was a lot cheaper, as well as water and gas being very nominal when it comes to the costs. You're paying around $20 to $30. So overall, the cost compared to life in the UK and US, it's a snip. Just one thing to bear in mind with water, you will need to get drinking bottled water separately. It's about £20, about $25 a month for a family of four. Again, a bargain. Right, moving on now to, is Egypt safe? From my experience, I've got to say, I've been pleasantly surprised about how safe Egypt is compared to life in the UK or life in the US. You've got to think about the compound setup here. So they're like mini cities, and each compound within it has dedicated security guards just to manage the particular area. For me, that's incomparable compared to life in the UK. So is Egypt safe? For me, it's miles safer than what I've experienced in the UK. And when it comes to things like healthcare, another question that I get typically asked, you've got to know that in Egypt, it's all private. You can pay around $20, $25 for a checkup, and you're getting seen within half an hour to an hour. Think about the wait times in the UK. You're waiting around 4 to 5 hours in a hospital just to be told, okay, this is what's wrong with you. You've got to wait another 6 hours to be seen. There's no comparison. When it comes to your healthcare experience, Egypt has been much better from our experiences so far. So what about your weekly shop? Let's show you the comparison. Okay, so you've got like 1 kg of lamb, like shawarma cut lamb, for approximately £8. Here you've got chicken breast boneless. 1 kg is about $6, approximately £4. Just one thing to note about bread here in Egypt, it doesn't taste the same as bread does in the UK, so just bear that in mind. But at this price, 32 Guinea, which is approximately 75 cents, 50 pence, you probably put up with it. So here, now looking at the veg, you've got 1 kg approximately for 50 pence. Fresh potatoes, that is, for 50 pence, 1 kg. Pretty crazy, if you ask me. And you've got my favorite veg, which is your sweet potato. I mean, a kg of sweet potato in the UK in particular, you're paying around at least £2 to £3 from what I remember, what I was paying just a few months ago. Here for 1 kg, you're paying 20 pence, which is approximately 30 cents, for 1 kg of sweet potato, a superfood. If you want to know more details around this grocery shop, watch out for a future video where we reveal all when it comes to cost of living in Egypt. Okay, so we're back here again, and the final thing is education for your children. What does it cost? For us, we homeschool our children, and we're paying around $5 an hour for the Quran and Arabic teacher, whilst paying a bit more than that for your maths and English. Your maths and English is typically taught by an expat who's moved to Egypt, and you're paying UK-US prices for that, anywhere from $15 an hour for someone that's world class. It's pretty cheap for me. And you've got to ask yourself, well, what is the investment worth to you, especially when it comes to your children's education? You'll find cheaper options, but are you going to be happy with that? You have to be able to answer the standard that you want. You'll also find international schools here, and you're paying around $1,000 per month. It actually equates to nearly the same as homeschooling your children. You'll also find a lot of cheaper options starting from $60 to $80, around £70 to £80, £70 to £100, which is a bargain, but you've got to think about the quality of education that your children are going to be receiving. Right, that's the video on what does it cost to live in Egypt. Hopefully you found it useful.